We're looking at question 90 on the midterm review packet, and in this one we're given information from question 89. That's where scenario 6-8 comes from. And that information was that we have a random variable, and it has a normal distribution shape, it has a center of $360, and it has a standard deviation of $50. Now the rest of the problem in 90 goes, the probability is approximately 0.6 that on a randomly selected day, the store will make less than which of the following amounts. So really what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the observation. That's what we're looking at. We're trying to find what values on the horizontal axis there is going to give us an area to the left of it of 0.6. So because I have the shape center spread, you can see I drew a normal distribution curve. I have the standard deviations labeled, trying to figure out what I'm working with. And I know from up above, I'm trying to find a value x on that horizontal axis. Area to the left of it, 0.6. But I'm going to apply some logic here. And the reason why is because it is a multiple choice problem, and it is helpful to know some of the things. One of the pieces of information I do know is the probability is 0.6. What that means is that it is less than 0.6 is what I'm looking at, so more than half. That allows me to right away realize that I'm going to have a z-score that is going to be positive. Because to the left of my center is where the area under the curve, or 50% of the information, lies. So I can cross out any choices that are less than $360. And so that's why I can cross out choices A and B right away, which by the way is very helpful because choice B is really a trick. And we're going to get to that at the end of the video. So I can eliminate that trick by applying some logic right away. So I at least have my other choices. Now, I know none of the other choices work with this next trick, but it's still helpful to know is realize kind of the empirical rule. 68% of the information lies within one standard deviation left and right of the mean, which means that we have 34% of the information between $360 and $410. So if I had any choices above 410, that means I could cross those out as well. I don't, so I can't. However, that does also tell me my z-score, because I need to find my z-score. That has a z-score between 0 and 1. That's what I know so far. So before I even start doing the problem, I know my z-score should be between 0 and 1, and I can move forward with that. So by applying some logic, we can eliminate some choices and have an idea of what we're looking for. Notice I said z-score, because if I want to find my observation, I need to find the associated standard deviation, or z-score, of that observation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Table A. Table A gives us the area to the left based off of z-scores. But if I go inside Table A, that's the area first, and then I can work my way outside and get the z-scores associated with that. So since I'm told area to the left is 0.6, what I'm going to do is I can go to Table A. I can find where in that Table A I have 0.6 or close to it, because it's going to be approximation. And if I do, I can see that I have right there 0.5987, so close, 0.6026. So that 0.6026 is what actually captures the 0.6 probability. So that tells me that I have a z-score of 0.26, and that's what I'm dealing with. So I know that information. I know I have a z-score of 0.26. And remember, z-scores, I'm going to use this definition of it for the equation, is what you observe. That's what we're trying to find. We are trying to find what we are observing. That's what I'm looking for. Minus what we expect. That's your mean. Divided by a standard deviation. So if I go to the formulas for this, I can actually kind of do the rest of the work. And that means I have 0.26 equals x, because I'm trying to find that, minus the center of 360 divided by the standard deviation of 50. If I solve, I can go ahead and multiply by the 50, and then I have the 360, and that's going to give me my answer. So that would give me the answer if I'm using Table A. Some people prefer to use Table A. It's very quick. Now, if I go and use my calculator, it's faster. And if I use my calculator, what I can do is I can use the inverse norm feature. So if I hit second and I go to the distributions, I can go down to inverse norm. Now, inverse norm, it's going to ask you for the area. That's area to the left, just like it would be with the Table A. So I'm going to have in there first, for inverse norm, area to the left is still 0.6. Then it asks you for the mean and the standard deviation. So that'd be the 360, 50. So I have my calculator that also says, hey, I want to do the inverse. You're working inside the table and going out if we're doing table A, so inverse norm is going to go ahead and say, give me the observation, I'll tell you what you're dealing with. So give me the probability and I'll tell you that you're looking at this observation. So we type that in, area to the left, and that's going to give us our answer. Our answer in this case is $372.60. That's the value we're looking at. So I can either use table A or I can use my calculator. However, this is multiple choice, but what if this were free response? If this was free response, one thing to keep in mind is you always have to address shape, center, spread. So anything dealing with table A to the left side, that shows a lot of work. That's perfect. You're communicating properly to the grader what you're doing. Now, if I'm using my calculator and I just type the following in, if I just say, hey, inverse norm, parentheses, 0.636, 50, and that's what I write down on my paper, that's no credit. So let's figure out how do we do the credit. Well, you can see I actually showed it with some work to get to the calculator. I wrote down my shape, my center, my spread. I wrote down my direction. I wrote down what I was trying to find. I'm trying to find the observation X that gives me 60 as the percent to the left, or 0.6 as the probability to the left. The other thing I wrote down is what each value represents. I wrote down that 0.6 is the area. I wrote down that 360 is the mean and that 50 is the standard deviation. So because I communicated what each one of these were in its association, that counts as all the credit I need for a free response problem. So hopefully this helped and showed you some of the tricks. Now remember, I did say there was a trick answer. We crossed it out by applying logic. But I want you to realize that choice B was if you did greater than 0.6. That would be area to the right, not area to the left. One way to kind of look at it is I know 360 is my center. The distance from 372.60 to 360 is $12.60. And that's the same distance from that value to 360, $12.60. So choice B was a misunderstanding of the direction that you're trying to find. But we eliminated that by applying logic right away. So that's why it's helpful if you're dealing with multiple choice to kind of cross out some of the answers that don't make sense logically with what you're trying to find. So that was question 90.